Chargers fans and Jaguar fans, we are in for what looks to be an amazing Week 3 matchup between both the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Los Angeles Chargers. The Jaguars, who are coming off a Week 2 shutout victory versus the Indianapolis Colts, are looking to make it 2 wins in a row and to finally break their 18-game road losing streak that they currently have as they make their West Coast trip out to SoFi Stadium to take on the Chargers on Sunday afternoon. And the Chargers, who are coming off a heartbreaking 24-27 loss versus the Kansas City Chiefs, a game that they potentially could have had and that they should have put away much earlier on than it actually went to. The Chargers are looking to bounce back, and even with guys like Keenan Allen and Justin Herbert questionable, this is going to be a very intriguing matchup for both teams. So like I always do with these preview matchups, I'm always going to talk about the opponent first. I'm going to talk about the Chargers on both sides of the ball. I'll talk about the Jaguars on both sides of the ball, and then at the very end, I'll give my verdict. So let's start talking about the Los Angeles Chargers. So first and foremost, when it comes to the Chargers, let's look at their injury report because they've got some key guys on here. We're going to take a look at wide receiver Keenan Allen, who actually missed the Thursday night football game versus the Kansas City Chiefs, and Mike Williams had a huge bounce back game in Week 2. Keenan Allen is clearly their number one receiver, and that's going to be a big if he's going to play with that hamstring injury. The Chargers will continue to monitor that. Then you talk about superstar quarterback Justin Herbert, who sustained that rib injury and played through it in that Week 2 matchup versus the Chiefs. Justin Herbert's an electrifying, young, ascending superstar in this game, and I want to see Justin Herbert play in this game. I don't wish injury upon anybody. I want to see the young guns play, and I want to see Herbert out there, man. Then you talk about cornerback J.C. Jackson, who they acquired from the New England Patriots, one of the best cover corners in the game. He actually missed Week 1 versus the Las Vegas Raiders, but he did play in Week 2, so I expect him to play, even though he was limited in practice with that ankle injury. You talk about center Corey Lindsey with the knee injury. Trey Pippins, their starting right tackle, has an ankle injury, as well as tight end Donald Parham. He has a hamstring injury. He's the backup to Gerald Everett. But let's really look at where the LA Chargers rank in the first 2 weeks of the season and what they've been doing on both sides of the ball. When you look at them offensively speaking, they're number 4 in passing yards per game. They're number 28 in rushing yards per game. Austin Eckler has not even eclipsed 100 yards yet rushing, but they are number 11 in points per game, sitting at 24. Then when you look at the Chargers' defensive ranks, you look at their defensive points per game, they rank number 21 in the NFL, only allowing 23 points per game. The Chargers defensively are also ranked number 7 in defensive rushing yards per game at 78.5, which is a huge upgrade to where they were last season. Last season, that defense could get ran all over, and the Chargers are ranked number 19 in defensive passing yards per game at 241. And then the Chargers defense has 3 interceptions and 7 sacks on the season so far, and a lot of that coming from both Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack, 2 premium edge rushers in the game. Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa both combined for 6 sacks so far, and they both have 2 forced fumbles combined as well. And Justin Herbert has gotten off to an amazing start so far to his campaign. Currently, Justin Herbert sits at number 5 in passing yards per game in the NFL. At 613 yards, he's completing 72% of his passes, 6 touchdowns, and just 1 interception. And I don't even know if I want to even count that interception, considering the fact that Gerald Everett was fatigued. He didn't come out of the game. I guess Brandon Staley and the rest of the coaching staff told him to go out there. I didn't really see that on the TV when I was watching the game, but Gerald Everett was clearly fatigued, and that was thrown for a pick 6, so I really don't blame Justin Herbert for that. But otherwise, Herbert and this offense is explosive. We know what this defense possesses, especially when you look at their front 7 with guys like Kyle Van Noy, Kenneth Murray Jr. You talk about Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack, and then obviously in the back end, you're going to talk about guys like J.C. Jackson, Asante Samuel Jr., who dropped 2 interceptions in that Thursday night game, and Derwin James, who absolutely lit up Travis Kelce. This team is scary. This team is very, very explosive on every side of the ball. They can put up points in a hurry. They play amazing defense, and Brandon Staley really has a very talented roster around him. Now let's transition into the Jaguars. The Jaguars are coming off an impressive 24-0 shutout victory that I was in attendance for against a divisional opponent in the Indianapolis Colts. So what? We beat the Indianapolis Colts. Now what? I'm going to quote Doug Peterson. I'm going to keep that mentality the rest of the year. So what? The Jaguars beat the Indianapolis Colts. What are we going to do about it now? Let's get into the Jaguars, and let's actually focus on the LA Chargers. And the Jaguars, currently in terms of team ranks on the offensive side of the ball, are number 12 in passing yards per game, 247.5 passing yards per game. They're ranked number 17 in rushing yards per game at 109.5, and also they're currently number 12 in points per game, offensively speaking, just at 23 points. But defensively, this is where the Jags' bread and butter has been the first 2 weeks of the season for a majority of their play. They're ranked number 5 in defensive points per game at 14 points per game, coming largely to that Week 2 performance. They rank number 3 in defensive rush yards per game at 69.5. Nice. And they also rank number 17 in passing yards allowed per game, 234.5. But the Jaguars are number 1 in the NFL, and the most telling stat in all of football in turnover differential. They are +5 currently as we speak. The Jaguars defense has done amazing. They've stepped up to the task. That Jaguars defense has 6 sacks, 5 interceptions, and 1 fumble recovery. The Jaguars defense currently has 6 sacks, 5 interceptions, and 1 fumble recovery on the 2 forced fumbles that they have on the season so far, coming to Josh Allen. Thank you very much, Josh Allen, the better Josh Allen. And the Jaguars only had 9 all of last year. You're telling me that through the first 2 weeks of the season, the Jaguars have 6 defensive takeaways, and the Jaguars all of last season only had 9 defensive total takeaways. Great job, Mike Caldwell. Great job acquiring talent around Josh Allen and building upon the secondary. The Jaguars are doing a great job there. Now let's take a look at some of the individual guys with the Jaguars. When you look at the quarterback at the helm, Trevor Lawrence, who I call Mr. Sunshine, who's having a very great start to his sophomore campaign, a sophomore surge if you want to call it. 510 yards, 68% completion percentage, 3 touchdowns to 1 interception. He ranks number 5 in quarterback rating through the first 2 weeks, and he ranks number 8 in first down percentage upon all quarterbacks. You look at James Robinson in the backfield, 34 carries, 130 yards, and 3 total touchdowns. Travis Etienne and both James Robinson have both been an extremely nice complement to one another. And you look at the most overpaid wide receiver in the NFL, who reset the wide receiver market because the Jaguars don't know what they're doing, with a guy in Christian Kirk, who has 12 catches for 195 yards and 2 touchdowns on the season so far. Now, I will say with Christian Kirk, though, heading into this matchup, Kirk has an 82% slot rate percentage currently as of right now through the first 2 weeks, but the LA Chargers did hold Hunter Renfrow and both Juju Smith-Schuster to 6 catches for 31 yards, so that's definitely a pause for concern if you're Doug Peterson in this offense. Christian Kirk's been extremely effective out of the slot the first 2 weeks of the season, but you want to see Doug Peterson maybe utilize him in some other ways. I'm extremely excited to see how Press Taylor and the rest of this offense is going to utilize Christian Kirk. I just had to point that out with Hunter Renfrow and both Juju Smith-Schuster because the LA Chargers did a great job when it came to those guys. And lastly, I just kind of want to address Jaguars right tackle Juwan Taylor, who has been impressive to say none the least. And I said it in preseason that he was outplaying Walker Little, and sure enough, he's validating me, and he's doing it for Trevor Lawrence and the rest of this offense. Juwan Taylor on 72 pass blocking snaps has allowed 0 pressures, and he has an 82 passer blocker rating on a scale of 0 to 100, which is impressive. In a contract year, he's doing a great job. He's the only tackle in the NFL with 50+ pass blocks to not allow a single pressure. Great job, Juwan Taylor. Keep it up. The Jaguars are in for a daunting task with guys like Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa and the rest of that front 7. But even as a Jaguars fan, man, I would love to go 2-1. Obviously, I'd love to have a huge statement win, but I want to see these guys out there being competitive. I don't wish injury upon anybody. Plus, these are some of the best guys in the game when you talk about guys like Justin Herbert and Keenan Allen and J.C. Jackson's at their positions. And also, I just don't want the Jaguars to have a Mickey Mouse win. At the end of the day, if these guys don't go out there because they're injured, I completely understand, and I expect the Jaguars to still go out there and perform at an extremely high level, even if Chase Daniel's the quarterback for the Chargers. But if I'm the Jaguars, I want to have a true statement win, and I want to say, hey, we went out there and we beat a fully healthy LA Chargers team. But with all that said, I do have the Chargers winning this game. The realist in me, and even though I'm the super optimistic Jaguars fan and I can give a relatively transparent view more often than not, no, I'm just going to be honest. The Chargers are clearly the better team. On paper, Brandon Staley has been doing the right things. I think he's made a little bit more progression, I would say, this season compared to last season, especially when you talk about the 4th down struggles and with that team. And I do think that Justin Herbert, even if he's a little bit banged up, is still an explosive, young, transcending superstar in this game at the quarterback position. And I like what the LA Chargers can present offensively speaking. But I also will say I'm a lot more scared as a Jaguars fan of the Chargers defense than I am the Chargers offense. And I mean that with all due respect. And that really comes from me believing in the Jaguars defense so much. I've said it religiously throughout the offseason, and I still believe it today, and the Jaguars are validating it. The Jaguars have a top 10 defense in all of football. That's why I feel more comfortable with limiting the Chargers on the offensive side of the ball, even though they have some amazing talent and they have one of the best explosive offenses in the NFL. What concerns me is Doug Peterson and the rest of this offense, who's still technically unproven, even with a lot of great skill position guys and quarterback Trevor Lawrence at the helm. That front 7 and that secondary absolutely scares me. There's all pro level players at every position when you go down the list of the Chargers defense. And I'm really excited to see how the Jaguars offensive line is going to hold up versus both Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack. The Jaguars are in for a real test. But like I said, with all that said, I have the Chargers winning this game. I hope I'm wrong. The spread is at -7.5, so I wonder if the Jaguars will even cover that spread. I personally do. I have the Jaguars losing this game 27-20. The Jaguars road game streak is going to continue to 19 straight losses on the road, and I have the Chargers bouncing back in what feels like a must-win game in the AFC West. Jaguar fans, I want to hear your thoughts in the comments down below, and Chargers fans, I want to hear your thoughts in the comments down below. What are you guys looking forward to with this matchup? And also give me a score prediction down below. Like I said, I have the Chargers coming out victorious in week 3, 27-20. Everything is going to be day-to-day when it comes to the injuries, which is going to be a vital part to this game in week 3. But if you guys enjoyed today's video, man, make sure you guys drop me a thumbs up. It takes 1 second and it helps me and the channel out tremendously. And if you guys are new here, consider hitting that subscribe bell to stay tuned for more NBA, UCF, and of course, Jaguars content that I do here on YouTube. And make sure y'all go follow me on my socials, especially on Twitter. I'm very active and I'm on there every single day. The link tree will be in the description down below so that y'all can go follow me. And thank y'all again for sticking around throughout the whole video. Brett James, aka BJ. I'm out, y'all. Go Jags, baby. Peace.